Yes, I mean, to me, she's no stranger to the media fraternity, and I'm sure a lot of you as well, St. Lucian, would have been exposed to her at some point or the other. But this young lady is quite determined, and probably there's a lot that you may not know that you're probably about to find out this morning that's going to cause you to have a lot more respect for her. And young people are definitely doing things. They are doing things, and they are just as worthy of recognition and spotlighting, pun intended. Spotlight is my next show. Spotlighting, and it's very, very, very wonderful when we get the opportunity to be able to bring them to the fore and have them, just share their story of their journey, with the hope of inspiring somebody else, because yes, it's doable. It is doable. And if Herma can do it, then you can do it. Then this person can do it. There are possibilities and there is no limitation. The only limitation is within your mindset. So if you decide you can't do it, then you can't be done. But if you decide, like Herma, listen, I want this, I'm going after it, and I'm going to put in the work, and you definitely is going to be achieving it. And I believe there's a lot more in store for this young lady, and we are certainly looking forward to that journey, even beyond today. So when we come back, Herma Demacque is going to be our guest for today. But first, we must acknowledge our partners, Quartz and the First National Bank. Let's take a word from them. Right. Right. All right. Well, wonderful. Let me say welcome to all those of you who have already started streaming with us via our streaming means. That's on YouTube and also Facebook. So welcome to you there. Welcome to those of you via our frequency, and those of you on the website as well who have downloaded the app, and you're rolling around with us and you're not missing a beat, and that is a good thing. All right, the rest of you get on board. It's time now to introduce you to our guest for today, and there she is, the beautiful, amazing, young and talented um Herma Demacque. Herma, good morning, and what an
Good morning, Mareen. It's such a pleasure to be here having this conversation with you this morning. How are you doing?
I am great. Oh man, it's been life. It's been good. Life has been good. I'm just
Yes,
taking
and I
it one step
realize that
at a
the
time.
RCI family is well into the Christmas season as well.
We are playing. Don't play with us. Certainly. Now, Hama, you're a young lady that, I mean, most of us would have been exposed to on the media front. You've dabbled in news, you've dabbled in the television, you've dabbled in radio. So media and marketing certainly is the field that you've made quite a remarkable dent in the past couple of years. But that is not all. Fashion wise, you're also a fashionista, somebody who's passionate about it as well. You're also very involved when it comes to the youth as well. So you're very much on that elevation of youth path as well. You've done quite some work within that field as well. And
Mhm.
that is not even all. You've done the youth parliament. You just one person who is very active, very engaged, and you seem to be on a mission to accomplish something. We're gonna come to that in a minute, but first we want to wire back down a little bit for persons who may not know. Let's just find out a little bit more about Herma from beginnings. Take us back to childhood, take us back to school, take us back to household, principles that you think have stayed with you to contribute to the person that you are today, the drive that you have. Let's go back there.
Sure. I think many people who know me knows or may not know, but I am from the community of Canaries. It is one of the places that definitely has set a foundation for the person that I am today, professionally and in terms of values as well. Being raised in a small community, it's different, and especially now that I live in the northern part of the island, the difference you tend to appreciate it when you're away from home, and
That's
sometimes
right.
it becomes a little, I see grand provisions and I have to go home. you know there's
Nostalgia
certain
kind
things.
of thing. The nostalgic kind of
Exactly.
thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Somebody mentions a river, and I'm like, okay, it's been a minute. It's time to go see mommy. But
Right.
the community of Canaries and being raised in a small village really did shape the person that I am today, because it's a really tight knit community. It's each one help one, and one of the things that I think can be considered a bit of a problem in the community of Canaries, but also can be looked at as a blessing, is you tend to have to be creative when it comes to staying engaged within the community of Canaries, because there's not much happening in that sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think through my participation within a number of youth groups trying to find that engagement, I was open to a number of opportunities that I did not even think was possible. I had to have a conversation with a young lady that I was assisting with a pageant. And I was explaining to her that I did not wake up with the skills that I had. The skills that I've developed now came from weaknesses that I realized that I had, that I needed to work on, and
Mm-hmm.
through that I was able to develop my talents. But all of that again stemmed from participation within youth groups within the community of Academy. So that definitely is a foundation for me. Growing up, I absolutely love stories. So from a child, from a little girl, I may not necessarily, I cannot say that I loved to read,
Right.
but I loved the
The
stories.
stories. It
So
remind me
I,
of
I,
somebody I know very well. Hint,
I
hint.
would, I would bring the books to you and say, "Hey, read this to
Read
me,
for me.
please." And I think that is one of the things that has stayed with me up until a day like today. I absolutely love stories. I love sitting down and listening to people tell stories. So that stemmed from my grandmother telling us folk stories when she had to keep us engaged. That developed into my cousin reading a novel that may not be age appropriate for me at the time, but I want to know what the story is about. So she needs to censor it so I can get the gist of the story. And I was surrounded by storytellers. I have an aunt who is absolutely amazing. I'm named after her. Her name is Herma, and she was an educator for a very long time. And again, she loves telling stories. So I grew up with that love for storytelling. And I think if you think of the professions that I've ended up in now, communication, radio,
Mhm.
television. It's about storytelling. It's about communicating a message, and ensuring that message is being communicated creatively. And you can see that happening through fashion as well. So definitely, I would say when it comes to influences, growing up in the community of Canaries, definitely was one. My engagement through the youth movement at a younger age also set a great background for me. In terms of values, you mentioned values and core values that I gained from a tender age. I think being able to assist people around you in the way that you can definitely is one of the things that is dear to me. I believe in sharing knowledge and sharing power, because at the end of the day, that is the legacy that you can leave behind. It's touching
Absolutely.
lives in one way or the other.
Oh, this is beautiful. All right. Well, this is that. We're coming back now because right now you serve as the PR and marketing executive at QBiz. Is that what
Yes,
it is? Right. So we're
yes.
gonna come back now and talk extensively about, some of the things to date at 30 that you're able to, champion, challenge. I think you've been involved in groups, you've been involved in NGOs, you've been involved in on a community basis that have helped to shape certain policies, certain things that resonate within the youths in the community as well. So we want to talk about that, but let me first take a break and take a word from the
Sure.
partners because it's quite vital, especially as we're wrapping up a year that we want them back
Trust
for
me,
next
I
year.
understand.
That's your field. You know, you more
Get
than
that?
anybody will know. So let's take a word from them, and when we come back, we're gonna go into, where is it you at right now? What are some of the future plans? What are some of the things? Because you're quite young, and I'm sure there's a lot of things jumping off your head because you seem to be quite a go-getter. Where you would like to see yourself, and how it is that you could encourage other young persons, to follow their dreams. Let's take the word and come right back. Wonderful. And we are back. For those of you who are just joining us, whether you're joining us via Facebook or YouTube, or you're on our frequency, or you're on the website, we are here at She Speaks for yet another day. And we've got the beautiful Herma Demacque. Of course, we just learned a little bit more about her upbringing. And now we're about to, delve in her career path, where she's at right now, her skills, and how it is that she's honing all of that together now. How is she balancing all of this different passion that she has, because fashion is falling into there. Her digital marketing skills and all of that is, she's now pursuing her you're pursuing some degree, right, in
Yes.
marketing and e-commerce, and,
Um,
and some digital marketing and e-commerce.
yes.
Is it right? These are all fields that's going to further enhance you know where she's at and what she's about. So Homa, let's talk about it. Like you said, it was a no-brainer from a child, heading into this field, because or did it just happen, or you knew that exactly what you wanted to do? How did it all happen for you getting involved in the media and marketing?
Thanks for that, Mareen. Actually, media came first.
Mhm.
I always wanted I was intrigued by the field of journalism. And again, I get that roots from my love of storytelling and my love of stories.
Mhm.
I remember being at um, KM2 Solutions at the time. I was 19
Mhm.
and doing the National Carnival Queen pageant. And, with the National Carnival Queen pageant, there are media drives, and you get the question, what are your aspirations? And the number of times within that short space of time, I kept saying, I would like to go into journalism and fashion designing. I would like to go into journalism and fashion designing. I would like to go into, and I'm like, I looked at the job that I was in now, and it was a sales job. And whilst, there were a number of lessons that I took from that, and I still use up until today, it did not fuel my goals. It did not fuel what I wanted to do. So after the National Carnival Queen pageants, I'm like, you know what, that's it. That is it. I sent it without without any idea what I was going to do next, Maureen. The next day, I'm like, you're being ridiculous. I left the job. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do, because it was also a career. And many people are like, what, you crazy? You don't know what you're doing next. Why are you leaving the job? You should wait
So you
until.
had no real plan. You just said, "Man, listen, this is not what I want to do. The further, the longer I stay here, it's stunting me from actually knowing what direction I need to go into, actually feeling what I need to feel."
Exactly. And it was it was the type of job that, in order for you to be good at it, it took a lot of time and dedication. It
Right.
it it took a lot of time and dedication. So I'm like, you know what? I'm leaving this. My mother is saying, "Are you crazy?" You know, other people who were responsible for directing me in that time were just like, "This child is mad. What are you talking about?" And I knew that that is the response that I would have gotten. So I told them after the resignation letter was sent. So there was nothing that could be done about it. So I sat home for about 3 months sending out applications. And the Wave radio station was opening a sister station at the time. About 3 months later, Vent Radio. It was
Yeah.
talk radio. And they remembered my interview from Carnival Queen. So they
Oh
remembered me
yeah.
as a contestant of the National Carnival Queen pageant. But also, they went through the National Youth Council. And at the time, I was very actively involved as a volunteer with the National Youth Council. And they said, "Hey, we would like some recommendations for young people who could fill in a show." And I remember receiving a call. It was a Wednesday afternoon when I received the call. "Hey, Herma, I'm calling from the Wave radio station," and talking to me doing about the opportunity. And I went in and I met the country manager at the time on the Thursday, and I was placed on air on the Friday.
There you
And it
go.
was very, very exciting. But I feel like that is where the journey started, because it's only after I'm on air, I'm like, "Oh my God, what am I doing? I have no experience in this. I don't know what this is supposed to be." So, for the first 2 weeks, it was a
Mhm.
little rough, it was a little rocky, and it was very rough and rocky. I would go home crying. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm, in over my head." But when I got the hang of it, I realized, hey, you got the opportunity. So it's really a matter of putting in the time and putting in the effort. So within the next 3 to 6 months, my thing was learning as much as I could. So I would stay back after my shifts. I would trouble the engineer. I would trouble the program director until I got it. And that is where the journey all began.
Right. Would you say what would be a take home for you there in terms of life lessons? Because now that you look back, yeah, you could have
Mhm,
stayed where you were. And I guess a lot of young people battle with themselves with that now because they have the forces around saying to them like, listen, but but their passion, what is written upon their heart, sometimes it's not been a conference call like we normally like to see it. So they might look like they're crazy. They're about to do something ridiculous. They're about to mash up their lives. You know what I'm saying? Because they're really following a passion or a writing that is on their heart, and they're going after that. But the people around may
mhm,
not understand it and maybe saying to them, "Listen, man, you're doing stupid with yourself." You now actually did that. You actually did that, and you did that force and you came out into something even when you fell into something that you were not sure that you were ready for,
mhm.
because you were not you just knew that you had this calling, and you're just going after it. Was there a life lesson, if there's something that you learned that you pick up from there that you could probably throw back out to other young persons who might be in a state of making these sort of decisions now?
Absolutely, Maureen. Definitely. And I think I should tell you, since then, I have taken such leaps within my career several times, where, again, there are people that they're coming from a good place and they're thinking about it logically with the information that they have. They're like, "Hey, this is not the best idea, but I will take the leap because I see how it would work for me, and I would see the opportunity." The lesson there, and I think there are several lessons.
Yes.
One, it is always worth chasing your dreams, and it may not go exactly how you want to. There's always an opportunity and a way to succeed. But also, it's not going to just happen for you. It's You get the opportunity, you have to then do the work, and you
Yes.
have to be willing to learn. So you have to recognize what you don't know, and to be able to ask the questions, to be able to do the research. And we live in an environment now where information it's at our fingertips. Knowledge and the opportunities to learn really is all around us, from YouTube to various courses that are very low cost, to even personnel that you could go to and say, "Hey, I would like to learn this. Can you assist me?" And there are people that would be able to do it. So, yes, take the leap, but also understand with the leap comes a lot of hard work and dedication to be able to get to where you want to go. And there will be stumbles and failures along the way. But what you
Mhm.
definitely need to do in those situations is, yeah, take a little time to feel sorry for yourself for 1 day, 2 days, but then recognize the lesson in that failure. Recognize the lesson and carry it along with you, because otherwise the failure is useless.
Absolutely. It's just a big L.
Yes,
Nothing
exactly.
else. No lessons, just, just L me with one meaning. And that's not a good thing. We can't support that. Right. You're also on to the entrepreneurial stint as well. Oh, where is she? Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, there you go. I don't know what
That's
happened.
okay.
It just popped up. You're also,
That's okay.
in entrepreneurial field as well. You're
Mhm.
onto a fashion thing. All of your worlds is now merging into the things that you're passionate about. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your journey on that level as well. What are some of the things? You're a talker. We have about 9 minutes left. So what I will
Sure.
do, I'm going to open up the next few minutes for you to just walk us through where you are at. What do you believe you need to do to stay at that level? What do you need to, what do you see the vision that you have for yourself moving forward, and how do you plan just put all of these, like you mentioned, the discipline, the hard work, the research, make sure that you educate yourself on the things that you're passionate about. How do you intend to use all of that? And I think this alone might be able to inspire the young people listening as well. So I'm open up the floor for you for that, for the next few
Sure.
minutes.
Sure, Mareen. Thank you for that. Entrepreneurship was another leap for me, and it's one that I think I've struggled with very much, because I think for me I'm on two ends of the spectrum. I'm a visionary, so my ideas are usually big. They're so big that sometimes I need somebody to say, hey. Yes, this is a brilliant idea, but you need to break it down into steps, because you're not going to get there right away. So sometimes I have an idea and I see the end. I can see where it can go big before I see the steps. And the other end of that spectrum is I'm a little bit risk averse. So unless if I can see how it's working, the leap sometimes it takes a little time to make the leap. But I like to see the plan happen in my head before happening there. But I ended up in the realm of entrepreneurship, and that's through my fashion. But also, I have um, a goal of branching out into consultancy as well, and I think that is where I'm going to just have all my worlds culminate. So whether it's communication, whether it's assisting young and upcoming entrepreneurs with digital marketing and e-commerce, because I believe that is a field that definitely is going to be huge. It's already huge,
Yes.
but especially for St. Lucia, I think it's an aspect that is necessary, especially for young entrepreneurs, for entrepreneurs on a whole. Sometimes, especially if you're starting out and it's just you, it's very difficult to be the digital marketer and the accountant. And I think that with all the opportunities that we've been seeing with the youth economy, with the Ministry of Commerce's loan grant facility, and all the other opportunities that encourage entrepreneurship, that there needs to be some sort of support for those small businesses. That one, it's affordable, but also will be able to empower them to to do it for themselves, to understand what it is. So not just to say, okay, let me do it for you, but yes, I will assist you to put the systems in place that you can operate your business effectively.
Okay.
So that
Put you to
definitely
feet.
is a huge
Put
goal
you,
for
yeah.
me. Ensuring that young people have a space, because I believe technology has done something for our young people where it's given them opportunities, and information at their fingertips, where you and I growing up, Maureen, may not
Not
have
that.
had it to that extent, but it's also made them very laid back and
Lazy.
made them very, I did not want to
Lazy.
say
Say the word.
lazy.
Say it.
I did not
Lazy.
want to say lazy, but it
It
has
is the
made
word.
them very lazy, in that they do not recognize that, hey, if I take the full potential, I use this to the full potential. That So some sort of correct guidance and life guidance for young people, I think it's something that I would like to use my skills to
Oh,
be able to do as well. So within
definitely.
the next year or two, hopefully the next time you have a conversation with me, whether we meet in person or another platform, I can say, hey, Maureen, this is what I've
I have
delved
accomplished.
into.
Yes. Oh
And
God.
I feel like also fashion will be also another big thing that I will be focusing on, because I feel like that is one of the babies that's always done on a small scale, and I'm always afraid to scale up. So I'm
Right.
making the commitment here to give it a little more attention in the coming years.
Right. For somebody who may not know you, Herma, and listening to this conversation, say, oh, well, this young lady has just had it made. She sounds like she come from a background that just, she just had it there for her. It sounds that way. Diffuse and let them know exactly how it is that, yes, you could appear this way now, but it has not always been, this
No, it's not
sunshine
been
and
an
green grass sort
it's
of
not
thing.
been an easy ride at all, and it's one of the stories that I tend, when I'm in a position of mentorship, I always tend to share with young people, growing up in school, and people who knew me from Cameron, who knew me from Castries Comprehensive, not necessarily Canaries, because I feel like Canaries primary, these people were my people and we grew up together, so they knew
Right.
me a little more intimately. But going to Cameron Primary School, going to Castries Comprehensive Secondary School, from my teachers to my peers, they would have never thought this girl would have ended up in media, because I was to myself. There were a small group of people that I spoke to. Even like I mentioned, I remember being 14 and given the first opportunity for public speaking, and I had this speech in front of me. It's not like I could not read, I was able to read. I went through the first paragraph and I left the stage crying. So this wasn't something that came to me naturally. Again, and I come from humble beginnings. I mean, my parents tried their very best to provide for me, but it wasn't a situation where everything was laid out. um, and that's one of the things, again, that has assisted me in really just going after my dreams, because I know that the people who have supported me in my younger years, they really had to sacrifice to ensure that I had the opportunities for learning. So I had to make the best of it. I mean, even going through school, academics wasn't it wasn't the best thing. I mean, I did well because I know that I had to do well. And when I say well, it wasn't A's all the time. It was a situation where sometimes, my cousin would have to say, hey, what's going on with you? Buckle up. And I will say, okay, and I will sit down and study. But that's not necessarily, it wasn't A's all the time. It
Right.
wasn't A's all the time. I think it was at the point where um that point when I ran off the stage and I'm like, hey, this is not what I want for myself. I
Right.
started working on it. I
Right.
started working on it and I started finding the opportunities for development. And I think that is still one of the things that I I tend to do. I seek the opportunities for development and I hold on to it.
What do you think is a fine line between um persons like yourself and a lot of the persons from the earlier era when they were faced with humble beginnings, when they were faced with trials and what we some might be some even tribulation in their growing years, prompted them, motivated them to make decisions that said, listen, I do not want this for myself. So they didn't use it as a breaking point to decide for the rest of their life, but they normally, most people like that, in our time, they normally use it as a stepping stone to really push for greatness. We
Mhm.
tend to see a difference, like a reverse in these era. Children now, when they are faced with trying moments or humble beginnings, they tend to not use it to propel. They tend to either they commit suicide or they put themselves in the zone where they start to think and they start to become um troublesome because they figure, well, oh, I don't have it like the other child. And instead of that motivating them, it actually demotivates them to become, you know, there seems to be a shift. I don't know if you recognize this. There seems to be a shift because you would say, okay, my humble beginnings. And I look at it and I say, nah, but I can't do that. I want to do better. So you let that drive you and your success. Now there seems to be a switch in that. People don't normally use these things. They tend to use it now to just, like, okay, all right, well, we do have that. We need to have that. And they just, by any means necessary, we want to get that and that. And most time they choose the not so nice means.
Mhm. I
Is that
think
something you recognize?
I think for me, Marine, everybody's situation is different, but I think it's a combination of things. Growing up in the community of Canaries, there is a high rate of unemployment. And the reason being is the community of Canaries is so close knit that I spent 3 months unemployed in the community of Canaries and I could have eaten and I ate well.
Ah,
Because even though my mom did not cook, my neighbor would come and say, "Hey, I cooked.
ah,
Would you like something?" And
wow.
it would not be that, it would not
Yeah.
be that, somebody asked her to check for me. She just figured, hey, I'm home. She cooked. Let's her offer. And it's very much like that within the community of Canaries. The standard of living is very low and it's very easy, which is again a blessing and a curse. So I think for me, and I know a number of people who had the qualifications, they could go to school, but they stayed unemployed within the community of Canaries for 8 years before they realized, hey, this is not the life, because it's easy to do. So I think in communities like that, goal setting is very, very important, because if I did not have goals for myself and
Yes.
I did not know where I wanted to be in life, it would be very easy for me to sit and do nothing.
Girl, there's work for
Um,
you.
yeah. And
There's work
the
for
other
you.
Right. And the other
Yeah.
aspect is that I'm very stubborn. So whereas there are naysayers and there are people who would say, hey, maybe you should not as yet, I will listen to it and I will heed the lesson there. But if my mind says to jump, I will jump.
Right, right.
Right.
Ah, oh boy. Well, it really comes back down to the individual and the mindset.
I think
And,
so.
and I think there's room for persons like yourself within that field as well, because hearing from you and hearing your discourse, maybe it might resonate with some of them. Well, like you said, there's future plans and we look forward to all of them. I know that there's purpose. I'm not pinpointing exactly where, but I'm getting a very clear divine aligning that this just young lady has got some amazing work to do, some purpose to fulfill within that field as well, and that it's certain that it's written on your heart as well, because you mentioned it. Herma, any drive home before we wrap up? That's our time. Certainly we need a whole day with you, because you see, I think we need a whole program. You and I need to listen, because you're so you're versed, and you got quite a lot in that little body of yours. You listen to you think and listen to your discourse. There's a lot to offer there. And I know I say that, and it's not a joke. I say there is a lot to offer there, and I believe that, you know what, you got a lot to offer to the surroundings, and I hope that it's going to be utilized in all of the right ways. I think it will be. But in
Yeah.
closing, is there anything that you'd like to leave with us?
I'll start by saying, Maureen, my body is small, but my forehead is big for a
A big
reason.
way.
It's big for a reason. And definitely, Maureen, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share with the RCI family my story, and I hope that people listening will take something from it. If you're struggling with an idea and you have an idea that keeps on troubling you, or a goal that is on your heart, definitely go for it. I believe the avenues are there in terms of knowledge. So if it's the knowledge that you're missing, find it. If it's the skill set that you're missing, find it and definitely go for it. But simply, I want to thank you so much, Marine, for the opportunity to share with you and your family and the RCI family my
Oh,
story.
we appreciate you, girl. And we look forward to the future. I can tell you that now. We look
Thank
forward
you
to the
so
future.
much.
And that is that. Thank you, Herma, and all the best, love.
Thank
Have a
you
good
and have a
one.
good day, Marine. Compliments of
Wonderful.
the season to you
Oh,
and
same
to
to
the
you,
listeners
girl.
as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas. Wonderful. Thanks, Herma. She's a
No
darling.
problem.
She certainly is a darling. And you would not know by just looking at her. But you sit down and you have a conversation. I say that with people. You sit, and that's a highlight for me. Okay, I see you. All right. But sit and have a conversation with somebody, and then I'll decide. I'll make my mind up from that conversation with you. And I've made my mind up about her. She's got a lot to offer. She's amazing. All right. Let's give her support, wherever mission, wherever way we can see her, because she's quite young and she's allowing, she's giving herself up in that regard. And we just encourage her. Sometimes she needs it too. So let's give the encouragement and keep pushing her. All right. Thank you again, Hums. And that's our
Thank
time. Of
you.
course, let's say thank you to the First National Bank, and also the courts
course.
Hey, of course, they coming back with wonderful. We gotta identify ourselves and then we will pay our bills. And then, of course, we continue with our Merry Mania and our morning programming. I'm on the morning. So, yeah, I'm going to be here until this 2.